on, give me Big Jim. Where's he at? There he is.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, brother? It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too, Steve. I wish I could have been at Fear Expo, but unfortunately, circumstances came up at the last minute. But Drew was able to get out there. So, for most people that may be listening or watching, I'm usually behind the scenes and do all the production. But here I am.
Here you are. So tell us, you guys been around for a while. You guys been doing this for a little bit of time. So tell us about it. Tell us where you got started. Tell us how this got going.
Well, you know, we all used to be part. When I say we all, I mean myself, Badger, Storm, and Jerry Vane were part of a previous podcast. And when he decided to shut that down, there was a void left in the haunt industry. So the four of us got together and debuted the Big Scary Show on Friday, April 13th, 2012. The four of us just worked so well together. Four completely different people, but you put them into the show, and what you get is a great, comprehensive haunt show about the business at large. And the wonderful thing is, we release a show tomorrow, which is actually, it'll be on Sunday this week, on Easter. But 2 weeks from tomorrow, we will be releasing our 11th anniversary show.
That's crazy. Were you even around in 2012, Tayen? Were you even born then?
I was born then.
That's a long time. But Jim,
Around.
you bring something completely unique to you with your experience, because you've been in the game for a very, very, very long time. I mean, I met you years ago with Maul,
Yes.
and I mean, you were doing bonker stuff then. But not only that, I mean, you're just a man on the move. Like, one weekend you're doing haunt stuff, the next weekend you're reffing and announcing pro wrestling. You're just everywhere doing everything. But let's go back to the Mall days.
Okay.
Let's talk about that a little bit for people who don't know about Mall.
Well, for starters, I heard a lot. I saw some people on the feed talking about the Dent Schoolhouse and how amazing it is, and I agree with that, because from 2010 to 2013, I worked at the Dent Schoolhouse. At that point in time, I decided I wanted to spread my wings a little bit, and I had a couple of buddies that worked there with me, and we decided that we were going to create our own traveling actor group. When it first started, we weren't quite sure what we were doing. It was myself and my late business partner, Jason Henry. We were the co-founders. And we were just going to go out there and get to whatever haunt would hire us. But a really cool gig got handed to us by none other than Tater. There's a Indie Scream Park out in Anderson, Indiana. Had tried to contact Tater to come in. Well, you know how hard it is to book Tater. So he said, why don't you reach out to Jim and Maul? And the rest was history. We spent 6 years in their midway scaring them. Aside from all the other places, at one point in time, I had like 30 people on my roster. We were covering 5 or 6 different haunts a weekend. And this went on for a few years, and it started to taper off. People wanted to go back to haunts or something, but Maul is still alive. I mean, the roster's a little bit smaller, but we're still out there and we're still scaring people.
Yeah, that road life is tough. Not a lot of people understand that. Like, being a travel actor is fantastic, but the road is tough and it is unforgiving.
It is very tough, yes.
So, out of kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier with Haunting You, like, you've been around. There's not a whole lot that you haven't put your hands on or seen or not been a part of. So what are some of your favorite experiences throughout your time in the haunt industry?
Oh my gosh. There's so many. But I will say that one of my favorite experiences was I got the opportunity to guest act at Netherworld a few years back. It turned out that not only did my wife and myself do it, but we were there with Badger and Tater the same night, all out in the queue line, having an absolute, I mean, we were chasing people left, right, and sideways. And I'm older, and back when I did this, I was not quite as old, but still a little bit slower than I am now, or faster than I am now, and a phenomenal. At the end of the night, it's like, where did the time go? Literally, I mean, I've worked at haunts where time seems to drag a little bit, but when I worked at Netherworld, I wasn't done when it was done when they were done. I wanted more. So that was one of my favorite times. And then there's multiple times at the Dent Schoolhouse. I succeeded in one of my favorite stories at Dent was one year we were allowed to, what we had was this app where you could take a picture of your friend and send it to us. And then one of the monsters would come out and get them and take them into the haunt. Well, yes, this was fun. So I was one. I had my iPhone in the back in the behind the scenes, and I would look and see who we're going to pick out of the queue line. And there was a 16-year-old kid, and is myself and Jason. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm 6'4". Jason was 6'3", and you see the two of us come after this 16-year-old kid in the queue line. His eyes get as big as dinner plates, and he bolts. Well, he didn't get as far as he thought because we caught him. And Jason threw him over his shoulder and carried him into the middle of the maze and dropped him and left him there. Now, the funny part comes in is I'm sitting up at the queue line, and he comes up through the front curtain. He goes, "Come here, I got to talk to you." So we go behind scenes, and that kid had peed all over his shoulder. I mean, his whole side was drenched. But the funny thing, Jason didn't change. He worked the rest of the night in that pee-soaked costume.
It's the ambiance. It just adds to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think that kid will ever go back to a haunt, to be honest with you.
So, Jim, let's get back to the big scary show. I want to talk about what you do on the show. The topics that you guys covered. What can people expect to hear when they tune into your show?
Oh gosh, I mean, there's a variety of topics. The next this weekend show, our signature segment is Roundtable of Terror, and that's where you're going to find these topics. And this one's all about technical sound design, because we got an email from somebody wanting some more technical stuff. So this is actually a long Roundtable of Terror. It's like an hour and a half long, about technical sound design and what you can use and how you can make these amazing soundscapes for your haunt.
Fantastic. I don't know. For those of you guys who don't know Jim, again, I actually owe Jim a personal thanks because he kind of helped pave the way for what my career led to with the travel acting and being able to just do what I did and make it okay. So Jim, I want to thank you personally for doing that. You are a legend in the game, and this industry is a lot better with people like you, and I really do appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that very much, Steve. It's good to know that I had some impact.
You had a lot of impact, and you still are. You're still out there, and you're still making moves, and you're still, busting open doors and making things awesome for everybody. So where can we find the Big Scary Show?
Well, you can find the Big Scary Show at www.bigscaryshow.com. Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon, Audible. If you've got a dot, I say dot because I got one behind me and I don't want to trigger it. All you have to do is say dot play Big Scary Show podcast or Big Scary Show, and you'll get our latest show. That's simple.
Awesome.
We're covering all over the world. I've looked at our download maps. I've got downloads in Russia.
That's crazy. So where you gonna go on tour? You're gonna go on tour and do Russia? You're gonna do Russian haunt podcasts?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but it's funny that you mentioned tour because me and the boys and girls, John, I have to include Jonna Summers, have been talking about doing not necessarily a live podcast, but we come out and do a recording all about a specific haunt for one show. So it's something that's still in the works, but if there's anybody out there that might be interested in something like that, they can drop us an email. You can drop an email to me at meathookjim@gmail.com or badger at bigscaryshow.com, or you can drop a note on our Instagram or our Twitter, which is at The Big Scary Show and Big Scary Show, as well as on Facebook.
Awesome. Everybody go out there, check out the Big Scary Show. I'm sure all of you have heard of it. I'm sure all of you have checked it out at least once. But there's a lot of information on there. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of funny stuff. A lot of good times on the Big Scary Show. So get out there, go check it out. Jim, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for everything you do. I hope to see you next year at Fear Expo. If you decide to make your way up north to here in Cleveland to go do one of those haunts, let me know. I'll come out with you.
Awesome. I might just have to do that, Steve.
All right, Jim. Thank you so much.
Thank you.